Poultry. Scrawny daughters of dinosaurs, your lovers never shut up, preening in streets lined with black feathers, as if every hour is the start of a new day, and the sun won't descend without them. Beneath your bamboo domes I see every soft throat with its destiny of edge and demise. You're in hot water, losing every frantic thread that veiled your sad quest for flight. Your legs stiffen without eulogies, and your wings can't pay their petitions to the god of the Archaeopteryx for delivery. Arriving in St. Paul, immigration asked me if I've been in contact with livestock. I want to say, are you kidding? Have you ever even been to my homeland? Looking out to the rising sun, my breakfast would never see again. Returning. Growing up in the Midwest in the 1980s, I ran into the idea of there and back again, of shires and armies and the mistakes of old men. To say nothing of monsters, of magic, an appreciation for roads and places undreamt by youth invention, the realm of a million elephants. Going on the road or on travels with Charlie seemed so far away, even as the poet's road became mine. The other day, I drove past acres of olives, almonds, and wine, to ports filled with coffee and fish, dancers from Nanshan. There was a stop in Missoula, a memory of vows and naturalization, a hot dog under big sky, hounds barking like Cerberus, keep going. In Sturgis, they love motorcycles and handguns. In Wall, there's jackalopes and plague-ridden prairie dogs. I wake up in the Midwest again, visiting toothy kaiju, a rusting robot from the future. I cannot tell you anymore who is invading, who is defending. A singer I know found fame beneath a clown's grease paint, while I tell you of stars I know where I'll never set foot. Memory is a writhing hydra, yet I fear this poem most when it is Hercules with a sputtering torch. Sticky Rice Blues. I've seen it 1,000 times in a dozen years, read the rules, watched the videos, talked it over until someone's turned a different color. You never feel less Asian than days you burn the rice, but it's possible. Even with a brand new bamboo steamer, a fistful of cochineal, some heat and water. Some days it's easier to be a cat in a temple, a morning fog, a frog splashing into a pond, a hungry ghost on a holiday, waiting for a bell from hell to ring. Surprises in America. It took me by surprise that Hitler was a vegetarian. Rudolf Hess, too. I remember reading about them as a boy. I remember the outrage when someone asked us to forgive them because the two would pet their dogs before night. It took me by surprise that Soldier of Fortune offered a reward for Idi Amin, paid in gold, dead or alive. It was a lot of money. What does it say when mercenaries set bounties on tyrants' heads? It took me by surprise that we weren't always the good guys. What couldn't we buy in the land of the free? Why couldn't we go where we weren't welcome? It struck me by surprise that many people didn't believe I was an American when I had lived here all of my life, except for that 2-day trip to Toronto. If it had told me instead that my mother had died, I don't think I would have been as surprised. The Buddha of Bombings. There are more cluster bombs than people in Laos. They stopped falling in the year I was born. America left soon after. The other day, a young woman I know saw people turning war scrap into fashionable bracelets. No one considers turning them into statues of Buddha. Recycling only goes so far out here. A third of those who die every year are under 12, caught in the hot, swift center of flame and shrapnel, dormant for nearly 4 decades. Most of their parents weren't even born when these lethal leftovers were dropped. In America, my nieces sing, "London Bridge is falling down." In Laos, my nieces sing songs not to touch the bombies. My new next-door neighbor is an old F-105 pilot my father picked up from the Hanoi Hilton. He knows my country well. But we don't have much to talk about, except our gardens. My cousin flew into Afghanistan at the start of a new war. We haven't spoken in years. I look at the pictures of hell in my mother's temple near Modesto. It's a new year, and young children run with toy guns sold to them by a vendor who could care less about karma and history. Our monks bless every living thing in sight, hoping it will do some good for a change. The deep ones. From the sea we come. From the sea we come. Our mouths the inns of the world. The salt of the earth, unwelcome at the tables and charts of explorers who expect commodity in blind territory, kingdoms, not wisdom, blood, not heaven's children. We grow with uncertain immortality at the edge not made for man, bending, curving, humming, cosmic, awake and alien. Our mass a darkened, foaming mask, a bed of enigma to certain eyes, one with the moon, one with the stars, one with the ash that whispers history in the same breath as myth and gods whose great backs yawn before us, as we change with a growing tongue, growling amid the dreamlands we built, one blade, one leaf, one golden wall at a time. The ghost, Nanak, hates the draft, isn't very good on issues of fertility, but isn't too bad with a lottery if you pay your respects properly by the takian trees. She's eating diced mangoes with a mouth of ebony ants, kept company by a TV tuned to tacky Thai soap operas, surrounded by white mutts who hate black dogs of any pedigree. Wants a simple life again, to set down for Buddha zero candles for just a minute. But she has a lot of karma to pay off for trying to keep her family together, spooking mischievous children at night, who think she's looking for playmates for her beautiful baby toddling between Wat Mahabut and the Prakanon River. The grass. Among jade grass blades, even mighty Bodhi trees must share the same earth. The last war poem. I tell you, this is the last word of this war, this little side war we were the center of. There is no justice from poetry. Any veteran can tell you that. They want their land, their lives, their livestock back. Grenade fishing and the aftermath of Pupati has lost its novelty to the man with a bullet fragment rattling in his body, slowly tearing him apart. Right, they tell me. Right what? We lost. We were forgotten. We are ghosts. We are victims of fat tigers and foreign policy. There is no Valhalla, only memories of spectre gunships. There is no Elysium, only pleas for asylum. This jungle was filthy. There was shit. There was blood. There were refugees who to this day cannot explain why they were the enemy when the war came. Their sons fought. Their brothers died. Their uncles, maimed, were hauled, screaming into the shadow of a plain of jars. Write, they tell me, so people won't forget, so someone will know. Lift the broken bodies with my words. Bring them out and say, we did not die in vain. For every bullet hole, let there be a word to stand as a monument. For every lost limb, let there be a sonnet to stitch the truth back together. For every eye gone blind, let there be something to take its place. Something. Anything. How can you not have words for the war of whispers? And how can you not shout, now that the whispering is done? And I swear, each time I break this promise, that the next time will be the last word I write about this damn war. The Robo Sutra. Like most Lao ventures, it began with a musing and laugh around Rooster Year 2600, a jest, the modern now epic Ram. It took a pack of jokers working overtime in the world's largest batek factory in the Laotown quarter of North Minneapolis, automating the stinky process for grandmas and pretty ladies squeamish about fermenting fish and putrid spice. Their task was no Hadron Collider or visionary Hubble, nor a Cray or retro difference engine. But in the age of STEM and T-punk, service learning, and nanopreneurs, they had hearts a Tin Woodsman would envy. A key problem in robotics they found in code-free laws declared universal standards. In an nutshell, true robots could not harm humans directly or stand idly by, while obeying all and protecting themselves in any ever hazardous situation. Now, keen on their karma, conversant on the Dharma, punched holes in the notion. Beyond questions of cyborg bioethics, saving clones and 99.9% mostly humans, the vaunted laws presumed everybody came for only one fragile incarnation, and your struggles in your next lives were inconsequential. How narrow! So they set about resolving this scenario. There were, of course, trials and errors. The new laws could drive the robot crazy, guessing how not to harm humans across their lifetimes, wondering what happens if people return a fish, a gecko, a snake, or some ignorant oath of a swordsman cursed with nigh immortality. But they all grew trying to grapple with such uncertainties. There were corporations who despised it. Hippie AI had no place in defense industries who relied on being offensive. That was as obvious as a drone above an unmarked building near playgrounds. Little Laobots running around trying only to make people happy, banned from murder and injury? What absurdity, leaving dreadful responsibilities to mere humans. But in times of peace, most agreed. Our AI wasn't too bad running a city compared to many mayors of prior centuries. But you have to like the elevator more lump they play constantly. The spirit catches you and you get body slammed. I came to Missoula to ask him about the inner workings of UNN, to understand the symbolic significance of split horns and split horses who trace their spirit path to a noble smoky path and turns of an auspicious moon above ancient Chin. My tape recorder at the ready, my fountain pen freshly filled with indigo ink, my ears, my eyes, my heart, all were humbly waiting for the wise shaman's words to impart to the next generation of youths who sought this fading voice. He spoke, and my interpreter said, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" I wasn't certain I'd heard properly. Grandpa wants to know who your favorite wrestler is. My interpreter turned back to a shaman, speaking Hmong. Rising with a stately elder's grace, the shaman confidently said, "Randy, macho man, savage," and struck a macho pose. Smiling, he then offered me a cup of hot coffee. I was too stunned to say anything more for the rest of the afternoon. Years later, I still have dreams of shining Shi Yi smashing writhing demons into blue turnbuckles, watching next to 100 smiling shamans in the audience. The Tuk-Tuk Diaries, Part 1. Roar, sputtering vroom. Take a hard turn at 60 with a glittering beep-beep down a street of mutts and roaming butts. Smoking flesh, beer splashing, cash flashing just below waist level. Take a ride along and see what a handful of bottles embarking in gets you by the time that you come to a stop in Bangkok, the city of insomniac angels. Just be sure to watch your luggage at all times. Khao San Road is canned chaos, an eternal Friday of wolf whistles and smoke. Even at noon, you could fall into a raving patch of midnight during a full moon, just by stepping into the wrong noodle shop. You can buy crispy critters for a steal, or prop up an Aka village for a day for the price of a silver bangle during the down season. The music comes at you like a stranger knocking on your door. Beware of souls trying to make money off of backpacking cheapskates here, reeking of weeds, bad funk, and second-hand dreams. They've seen your kind before and can strip your wallet before you've finished your first swallow of a street. At least you can get funny t-shirts here, but they shrink. Catch a tuk-tuk to Dorsey Tep and you can see golden shetty and giant bells. Fire a cheap crossbow just past the Naga's stony mouth, and sing your songs of heartbreak to the rain using a karaoke machine among the food stalls. It's beautiful, I hear a henna-haired tourist gush. Her guide, a young boy with a ghastly scorpion tattoo, wants to tell her, "Take me home with you," but doesn't have the words and just says, "Where would you like to go next?" Trying not to rush her, hoping she doesn't decide to stay here forever instead. In Laos, there's an army of tuk-tuks at the Talat Sao, waiting for the right word to go. They slumber, tiny blue dragons with wheels for eyes and wide mouths for grinning passengers who never seem to come. There aren't many places to go besides home, the vat, and the market, and glancing next door at those raucous streets of Hollow, it may be just as well. Thread between stone. Those old Greeks, they punctured time with their stories, stitching century to century, and I did not see this until 3 a.m. naturally. I was raised on their tales, pebble by pebble, like Aesop's thirsty fox, a scholar in the wake of semiotics and systems theory, so irrelevant when children were master snipers from secret wars on the plain of Jars and Afghan mountains, times when the only teachers that mattered in Kosovo were mercenaries. If you stare at the labyrinth long enough, you'll see arrogant Arachne's thread used secretly by Gorgias, until ambitious Alexander cut that silly knot in two with a sword as sharp as Occam. As your eyes grow bleary from musty notes, after a time you will connect those pieces to Ariadne and the trap laid for old Daedalus, father of Icarus and Minotaur Laius. One threads the maze with a lover to defeat the furious beast, while the other threads spiral shells with an ant and a string, a beast to defeat an irate patron's riddle. The legends are filled with strange ties like that. It's almost Buddhist in its circular irony. Poor Oedipus never saw how he's tripped up by his puzzle, and scholars never noticed he got it only half right, half wrong. The Sphinxine dilemma was no empty koan. What has 4 legs at morning, 2 at noon, and 3 at sunset? What is the weakest when it has the most support? Man, the children chirp. Man was the answer that made him king. No. The question was one of self-knowledge, and the only true response was I. But he could not see himself within the riddle, so he returned to home, to dark fate's decreed, undone by his blindness to his own identity. That's what you get for cheating with the oracle. There are no shortcuts with destiny. The Greeks laid traps like this that took centuries to spring. The whole Trojan War was a conflict of divine metaphors. If that lusty prince had chosen between wisdom of a peaceful hearth and not the promise of fleeting beauties, 1,000 men might have different graves. Today, in the heart of Western democracy, as presidents chase interns with their own oral traditions, it's hard not to wince at unlearned lessons. And gazing at Egypt, beneath the pyramids of Giza and great royal valleys, there is a world oblivious to all of my mythic meanderings, scorched and bleached to epic simplicity. You will never understand the dreams of mummies until you see a silkworm cocoon who aspires to emerge as a butterfly in her next incarnation, before someone unravels her for her thread. Today is special at the Xuan Chen. Coated in caramelized spice, the suckers of a squid tentacle diced into impotence between my chopsticks and baked. They once clutched at an ocean writhing with life, clasping dearly to each precious bite. What will worms use to hold my bony hands, if I don't let my family throw me into the sea, a handful of dust, with a hint of squid flavoring? What is the Southeast Asian American poem of tomorrow? It is not hip-hop, despite some hopes. It is not slam. It is not even an anti-poem. It is not the form of old Europeans of a resurrected ghazal. The author's words, I must inform you, will not even resemble or recall the old Guzia, Kadao, or the, much to our parents' regrets, who pray among Watson steeples, for good grandchildren, lucky numbers, and doctors in the family. If our lovely readers do not grow free, we will be unreadable. If our writing is too predictable, we will lie in the ditches unsold. If our words don't speak what's in our souls and skulls, we will forget ourselves, our bodies, our shapes, our language, and the true shape of the Southeast Asian American poem of tomorrow will become an exercise in modern myth. What kills a man? Always small things, around, holes, fumes, edges, split atoms, a second, a footstep, a sip, a bite, a word, a cell, a motion, an emotion, a dream, a fool, a bit of salt, a drop, a fragment, the true root of arguments. What kills a man is mysterious only in how minute the culprit behind the blow. We're careless and forget, even when what kills a man is another man. It is a small thing that kills a man, the whole earth a single grain, on a sprawling table, filled with the smallest things. What tomorrow takes away. On a good day, the feeling of something left undone, nagging like Mrs. Tolstoy on her deathbed in Astapolvo. On a bad day, the feeling that something has been accomplished, like Mr. Tolstoy's last period for a book called War and Peace. I wish we weren't so obsessed with hope, because in a good world, we wouldn't need it at all. Wisdom. The Greeks say wisdom begins with a face in the mirror that says, I do not know. Sun Tzu needed a lovely girl's head to show that knowing yourself and knowing your foe was enough to win a war best won without a single drop of blood upon these rosy roads filled with beauty. Confucius with his aging pupils had enough time to scribble out, it is only the wisest and the very stupidest who cannot change. The lousy old man from Honan in his laid-back way says, between good and evil, how much difference? On the internet, you can find a copy of the I Ching that will give free readings at a click of a button if you're too lazy to toss the coins and the arrow, with all the reliability of a tarot deck stripped of the minor arcana. Exacting physicists in their duties say, everything that rises must converge, and every action carries an opposite reaction, equal and pure. The Zen monks in the mountains think they can get away with the I don't know, a fushiki, and nothing more than an empty fist. If they aren't careful, it will cost all of them their lives. The Chinese say that wisdom begins when you begin calling things by their proper names. An Amway rep who shall remain anonymous says tough times don't last, but tough people do, and it's best to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. Such wisdom is as old as the pyramids, depending on whom you talk to. In some cultures, it's rude to talk to someone if you have nothing to say, and after a time you might find that saying nothing and saying something amount to the same thing. A Mon man was quoted obscurely, "The world is only as large as a man is willing to walk." Exhausted and weary, the GIs in Kuwait say, "Wheels are better than heels." Mortal combat between its savage rounds contends there is no knowledge that is not power. It's not worth losing your head or your heart for a quarter. From the lightless grave, Lord Acton wags his ink-stained fingers powerlessly in disapproval about abuse in absolutes. Wandering Mr. Elliot through an April haze, murmured incomprehensibly with a lost Brahmin's lullaby, "Data dayadvam damyata," while a shrieking young boy from the back streets can only see a wasted mile of indigo ink. It will never be his mantra. The dog whispers conspiratorially, if you cannot kill it or eat it, play with it or sleep with it, or even crap on it, leave it alone. But then again, they say, dreaming dogs lie, don't they? Huxley wishes that in 60 years he could have produced a message more profound than treat people a little more nicely, while Beatles proclaim that all you need is love. So it goes. After all this, a young mother looks at me and asks, why bother looking at all, if that's the best you can give? Peering down into that cavernous cradle and her trusting baby's lively smile, how can I come empty-handed? Ypsilanti, 1982. In 36 years, I barely spared a word about my days in Ypsilanti, known chiefly for giving us Iggy Pop and an obscure pioneer in continental drift. I was watching the 9 o'clock news with my father in our living room, as was the family habit. I was 9, eating a baby roof in June, when a picture of Vincent Chin flashed on screen with a discussion of murder, Japan, and the Motor City. My father said not to take it personally. We were going to have a barbecue with our blue-collar neighbor on Saturday, once he was done at the Ford factory. Our other neighbor across the way, with the tall, bottle-blonde daughters, was a Baptist preacher, fond of discussing Pearl Harbor with me every other day, because I couldn't tell him a thing about Laos. Zelkova tree. A friend warned me the other day not to write about the Zelkova, or I might come back as one, and find myself cut into furniture just as things start to get interesting. The other day, the Zelkova warned me not to worry about my friends, or I might stay human, and find myself cutting furniture just as things start to get interesting. Zambuddha utters Om, not brains, is not attached to a body, is not attached to a mind. Decay is one aspect of a cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth, re-death, never perfumes or gilds the self. comes back for you, perhaps right behind you. Keep going, he says in his own way. Observes a walking meditation. Does not hurry or drive cars or trucks or tanks or gunships or warplanes. Will not touch money or liquor, beyond the vices of lust and greed. Focused, not one possession of the past matters. Old names are useless, except every moment of equanimity. No fear, no pain, no anger, no jealousy. Burn him, cut him, shoot him, flee him, free him. It is the same. The old riddle still applies. Meeting the Buddha on the road, you can say nothing to him. You cannot remain silent. What do? You will destroy him to be comfortable. Some will follow his path, become one with him, laughing at the dancing bones of Zen. The lessons of an uncertain universe.